Hi, this is Carmen. I'm connected.
Hola, Carmen.
Hello.
¿Cómo estás?
Ay, bien. Entonces, ¿va a ser esta clase en inglés?
You kick it off, and then I read.
Yeah, I think he's going to start things off.
Okay.
So what you going to do there?
Okay, we're going to start.
Okay.
Well, hi everyone. I don't know, Carmen, if I sound good with this microphone. Carmen, can you hear me okay?
I do. Yeah. I can hear you.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody to this session 1 from theory program of the human computer. So it's important to know that this class is going to be read it literally from the text, so we can discuss after that what is all this about. It's important to know that all the questions you have, you can make it, because in that progress, you can understand in different perspectives what we're saying. So the important thing is just to open your mind and trying to perceive what information is going on. So we're gonna start with the first part of the lecture. Please, Elise.
Program theory application. Why a rewrite works. It is expected that this theory be useful in understanding and in programming not only oneself, but other minds as well. Enhancement of the very human depths of communication with other minds.
Well, that's a nice idea. That maybe we can talk with each other. It would be handy if we could talk to each other, I suppose, huh? So the idea here is this, is that, look, if we have a way of defining what it is that we think with, maybe it becomes a lot easier to talk about what we're thinking about. Okay, si tenemos algo para definir de cómo estamos pensando, tal vez es más fácil para definir de qué estamos pensando, del tema que estamos pensando. Entonces, this theory, this idea, is designed to give us a language that to talk about this material. Okay, that's the idea. But the material is about how we think. Okay, Elise, what's the next thing here we got?
The current limits and the attainable limits for education, for reprogramming, for therapy, and for cooperative efforts of all sorts between men may be aided in the terms here presented. This is at least a hope of the author. Only time and the use of this kind of thinking can test out the further working hypothesis.
Okay. Again, the idea here is this, is that what we're trying to accomplish is we're trying to say, okay, look, if we have a way of talking about thought itself, maybe therapy isn't so mysterious. Maybe it's a lot easier for us to just figure out what the dickens we're trying to fix and fix it without having to go to therapy. Maybe it's just, oh, it's the program that doesn't work. Well, what program is it? Maybe it's like that rather than, oh, we've got to spend 20 years and $30,000 on me to get you to a good place. Okay, I don't think that's necessarily true, but that's how it works. Okay, so maybe it would work better if what we could do would be to invite people to I don't know, maybe have a different language so they could actually talk about these things. Okay, what else we got over there, Elise?
One fact which must be appreciated for applying this theory is the essential individual uniqueness of each of our minds, of each of our brains. It is no easy work to analyze either oneself or someone else.
When it comes to analyzing either yourself or somebody else, here's the reality of it. You can't. You just can't do that. What you can do is you can look at a program and you say, okay, there's a program that works or doesn't work. I can adjust it or I can't adjust it. That's about the limit of what we can do. That's what we do in a therapy, whether it takes years to get there or what. But that's what we do really. We just simply get to a place where we say, okay, this is a program that we need to adjust. Do we rewrite the entire program? No. We don't do that. We adjust it the same way we do in a computer. We upgrade it. We make it work better. We don't change it. We just make it work better. Okay. The program is there. So why reinvent the wheel? Why not use it and make it work better? That's the point, right? So every mind is different. Every single mind is different. Every single mind had different experiences. Every one. So how in the world could I understand all of the experiences of somebody else's mind? I have a devil of a time trying to figure out the experience of a single rewrite or a single experience that people talk about. I have to pay gobs of attention to that in order to get that part done. Okay. All right, Elise.
One fact which must be appreciated for applying this theory, I did that. This theory cannot be a miracle key to a given human mind. It is devilishly hard work digging up enough of the basic facts and enough of the basic programs and metaprograms controlling each mind from within to change its poor operations into better ones.
Yeah, all that's saying is that look, doing all this stuff is work. And if you think that it isn't, you're kidding yourself. It is. It's work, and it's hard to do. And the reason why it's hard to do isn't because it's not possible. It's because we have to be brutally honest with ourselves about what's there, and that's what's hard, is being honest with ourselves. Okay. All right. Here we go.
This theory can help one to sort out and arrange stored information and facts into more effective patterns for change. But the basic investigation of self or of other selves is not easy or fast. Our built-in prejudices, biases, repressions, and denials fight against understanding. Our unconscious automatically controls our behavior.
You know, we human beings, we kid ourselves a lot. We think that we're in control because we talk to ourselves. We think that we think by talking to ourselves. And the reality is that's not true. The reality is that we're controlled by something that we're not conscious of. And that's our meta programs. And we can't be conscious of those until after the fact. We can't really be conscious of those before the fact. That doesn't mean we can't use them. That means we can't program them. It doesn't mean any of that stuff. It means that we can't be conscious of them until after the fact, because consciousness does more recording and addressing something that is current than it does. It does a much better job of that than it does of saying, okay, I'm going to pay attention to something in the subconscious. Sports figures, for instance, can't pay attention to the subconscious. I mean, they just simply do their thing. An artist, he doesn't think about the colors he's going to put together. He says, okay, I like how that feels, or something of that nature. He doesn't say that, okay, I'm going to paint this thing, unless he's Da Vinci. And Da Vinci's gone now. So.
Eventually, we may be able to progress further. It may take several generations of those willing to do the work on these problems.
Yeah. That's true. From my experience with this data, I don't know that several generations is going to be enough. It appears to me that people spend almost half their lifetimes figuring out how to apply this information. It's not that it's that they can't do it. It's just they have to figure out where it fits for them. The more people that do it, however, the faster it seems to be for folks. In other words, for instance, Elise took 10 years. Maritza's taken a year. Luke has taken a little less time than that, etc. A year and a half, I guess. Sandy's taken 4 or 5 years here to get to the same places. It seems to be easier the more people do it, and there's more tracks and so forth, I think. But it still is going to take time and discussion, and what we're talking about here now probably isn't going to be exactly the same material that's talked about a year from now, or even 2 years from now. Even though there are people who are beginning to understand how to talk about this all over the world. For instance, there's a group in England right now that can talk about this. I think I sent you the link to that, right? Okay, you ought to share that with other English-speaking people so they can listen to it. Okay. All right. What else we got there, kid?
Meta-theoretical selection being done by selection of the formal kind of thinking from a large universe of other possibilities. This position does not state that the origins of the basic beliefs are completely specifiable.
Okay. This one's a little more complicated here, but it's quite easy to understand. A meta-theoretical position is, in reality, a set of beliefs. When you upgrade your computer, when you get an upgrade from Apple, for instance, you're getting a new meta-theoretical position on how to control hackers and viruses and those kinds of things, malware and other things you don't want to have on your computer. That's essentially what we're trying to do in a class like this, is to give you an upgrade, because we don't have no idea what it is out of this class that you're going to use, or how you're going to use it, but we have to give you the opportunity to use it however it exists for you. So what you're doing is that you're picking out meta-theoretical positions out of the information that we're presenting here, and you're painting that meta-theoretical position so that it fits you. I wish that I could be more efficient than that, but I can't, because you're the ones that have to put this to use, not me. I put it to use, but how I put it to use is not how you're going to put it to use. It's just not possible that we're the same in that regard. I have had different experiences than you've had. That would be one. Okay, what else we got?
However, some related basic beliefs are found to exist. A limited system of rules of combination of the basic beliefs given internally consistent logical results can be devised for the limited use of that system.
Okay, again, let's just say that you get to a place where you can say, okay, here's a set of beliefs that I can probably claim as my own. Let's just say that that's a possibility, okay? Whether it's being a vegan or whether it's being from France or whether it's being from Chiapas or whether it's being from Mexico or from the United States, those are basic beliefs that we have as, about real, okay? Because they define certain aspects of our experience in life. Now, on top of that, there are other basic beliefs that we also carry that says that we belong to a certain family or a certain tribe of type of a tribal type of people, that we're we belong to the music tribe, or we belong to the foodie tribe, or we belong to the mom and kid tribe, or there's lots of those. And so the thing is that once that we can begin to identify some of those things that are true about ourselves, we can begin to look at the beliefs that we must in fact carry because of who we are and what we have to believe. That doesn't mean that those define us. It means that those are some of the basic things that we have to believe is true, but they are extremely adjustable. They're not something that we have to carry through life like albatrosses around our neck. We don't have to do that. I mean, even though you've sinned, you don't have to have that dead bird around your neck forever, at least. I'm just saying, okay? Maybe, not maybe, okay? Elise likes to do that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm suffering. I've been a bad girl. Naughty me.
No, he doesn't do that. You're ready to go?
Disorganization into a limited integral system of thinking and the selection of those basic beliefs which naturally fit into such systems of thinking is a way of dividing off this territory. Among many other meta-theoretical ways of looking at one's own thinking machine and its activities is one which considers the unknown origins of basic beliefs and finding those whose origins are unknown. The whole problem of origin and the whole problem of how one constructs basic beliefs is at stake here.
You know, the biggest problem with finding basic beliefs is that we lie about it. We kid ourselves about it. Really, we do. What happens is this, is we say, okay, I'm this thing that I want to be. And I believe in this thing over here because I've decided I believe that. And that just isn't possible. You see, the beliefs that we have to do with real, not with about decisions. And so when we find basic beliefs about ourselves and we want the origin of a belief, we may not know where it began because to us it looks normal. Let me explain this normal thing. I explained it at various times in the regular class, in the introduction class, but here we go again for the same thing. I have a cousin named Becky who, when she was 5, she had spinal meningitis. She fell and broke her leg, but because she'd been in pain all the time, it took her a month to get to the doctor. And when she did, the doctor said, Becky, how come you didn't say nothing about your leg being broke? She said, well, it didn't hurt any more than what I normally do. And in other words, for her, a broken leg was normal pain. It's just another day at the office for her. We kind of do the same thing with our problems. We do exactly that same thing, actually. And so what we do with that is that we say, okay, we've got this problem that's ours. And so it's normal, but we don't think that thing is the problem. And we don't know when it was that it began, because that time is unknown. However, when you start getting in the tank, all of a sudden you remember this thing that happened to you, and somebody else says, well, why do you remember that? Well, then you're beginning to find out about your basic beliefs. We can't tell you what they are. We can say, well, why is that important to you? But we don't know. We weren't there. I wasn't anyway. Maybe Maritza was, but I wasn't. Were you there? No? Okay. But that's what we're trying to accomplish, okay, is to get you to be able to find that place where it works best for you, where those memories actually exist for you. Yeah? Ready?
Meta-theoretical considerations basic to understanding program theory. In general, there are two opposing and different schools of thought on the basic origins of systems of thought or systems of mathematics. In a simplified way, these two extreme positions can be summarized as follows. 1. In the first position, one makes the meta-theoretical assumption that a given system of thinking is based upon irreducible postulates, the basic beliefs of the systems. All the consequences and all manipulations of the thinking machine are then merely elaborations of, combinations of, these assumptions operate upon data derived from the mind and or from the external world. This is called the formalistic school. This school assumes that one can, with sufficient sophisticated methods, find those postulates which are motivating and directing a given mind in its operations. A further meta-theoretical assumption is that once one finds the set of postulates, that then one can account for all of the operations of that mind.
Well, we've been trying to do this one for a while, and no one's been able to accomplish it really, although it is an interesting concept. Look, there's no doubt at all that we all have had experiences. Okay, we've had experiences. That means that we have identifiable we can identifiably postulate from those experiences about the empirical nature of our thoughts. However, those postulates do not identify or even define all of the possibilities of where thought originate. There are certain thoughts that originate in that way, but we're not sure that they all do. For instance, well, you want to read the next part there? So okay.
The opposing school, at the opposite end of a spectrum of schools, as it were, makes a meta-theoretical assumption that thinking systems arise from intuitive, essentially unknowable substrates of mental operations. This school states that new kinds of thinking are created from unknown sources. Further, one is not able to arrive at all of the basic assumptions on which systems of thinking operate. Many of the assumptions from this point of view must be forever hidden from the thinker. Thus, in this view, the origins of thinking are wide open. With this meta-theoretical assumption, one can then conceive of the existence in the future of presently inconceivable systems of thought.
I think I've mentioned this before, but it's worth repeating. You know, this last year there was a study that found that the brain sometimes organizes into 11 and 12 and 13 dimensional constructs, and then goes back to normal. We don't know what that's about. And we don't know what the origin of that stimula is that causes us to have those multi-dimensional thought processes. We have no concept at all about what's going on with that. It's a fact though that it happens. It's been observed. Okay, now when we're talking about things that we believe is true, that whole concept gets even weirder. Because when we believe something is true, we can make that thing real. And we make it real by how we think about it, by how we talk about it, how we agree about it. Everybody says, oh, what are you talking about? Have you ever used money? Money's not real. I mean, yes, money's real, but what makes it real? Because we agree that it's real, that's all. It's a piece of paper. Well, the government backs it. Yeah, the government backs it. That's true, it does. The bank backs, yep, the bank, yep, that's true. But we agree with the bank that it has value, right? And the bank agrees with the government that it has value. And we measure it and we say it's this and we say it's that and we talk about it in reverent terms and so forth. But the reality is that money is an agreement, nothing more, nothing less. Same thing with laws. Laws are agreements. I mean, we have whole books and books and books and books of laws. Find some of those laws were out here in the wild someplace. Can you do that? In other words, when bears get divorced, does the mama bear get the kids in the car? See, that's a rule just for us humans, okay? We have to believe in that. How about fair? What do bears and snakes and tadpoles, they all deal with fair too? Do they get their feelings hurt like we do? I mean, I'm asking, I don't know. I don't think they do. Okay, so I think that we have to stop and think about what that's about. Where do we get off with that thing? And like the little boy's saying right there, I don't know. So that part of thinking is something that's kind of a mystery to us, okay? Because it's about things that we don't really understand quite yet. And we don't know where that the origins of those thoughts actually come from, what are they? In fact, most of the time, for most people, those kinds of thoughts are completely hidden. They never get to them. We happen to here in the tank office simply because here in the tank office, we have to address that because people come out of the tank and they make things real. If we don't pay attention, they do it anyway, like Michael. Okay. All right. We got something else there?
There is an intermediate position between these two extremes, in which one assumes the existence of both kinds and that each of these two extremes has something to offer. Thus, one can select these kinds of thinking which are subject to formalistic analysis and formalistic synthesis based upon basic beliefs. But this does not include all thinking. Some kinds continue to be based in unknown areas, sources, and methods. Metatheoretical selection is being done by the selection of the formal kind of thinking from a large universe of other possibilities. This position does not state that the origins of the basic beliefs are completely specifiable. However, once some related basic beliefs are found to exist, a limited system of rules of combinations of the basic beliefs giving internally consistent logical results can be devised for a limited use of that system. This organization into a limited integral system of thinking and the selection of those basic beliefs which naturally fit into such systems of thinking is a way of dividing off this territory.
Okay. In the division of territory, this is an interesting concept because we have to consider what the hell they're talking about with that. Look, if you go back to Krzyzewski and what Krzyzewski says about the word isn't the thing, the map isn't the territory it describes, okay? You got to start with that concept because we can't really point, well, the best we can do is point at these concepts. We can't really define them exactly because they are concepts that are larger than a word, okay? They are meta programs. They are self-meta programs. They direct ourselves automatically, okay? So the thing that we need to pay attention to here is that these beliefs probably have two different ways of being defined, rather like sight. You know, sight can be defined as what we can see in terms of color and movement and what we visualize in the visual cortex. But sight can also be spatial. And so that we adjust our where we are to a space in time and space. And we can see from there in our thinking. Okay, those are possibilities. So the idea here is that we want to divide the territory into two different places, and then we want to combine those two different places into one. A defined origin and a non-defined origin, but maybe in reality they're both the same thing. Maybe the defined origin is only partially defined because that's all we can see. Maybe the undefined origin is more defined than we think because that's all we can see. It's something that we have to consider at the very least, okay? All right, what else we have here?
Among many other metatheorical ways of looking at one's own thinking machine and its activities is one which considers the unknown origins of basic beliefs and finding those whose origins are unknown. The whole problem of origin and the whole problem of how one constructs basic beliefs is at stake here.
All right, this is kind of getting down to the nitties and the gritties of this particular concept. It's important that we know how we know what we believe is real. That's important because that's the basis of everything that we think about, everything that we do, every action we take, etc. It's based on what we believe is real about any given time, at any given time, about any given event. So to define what's real, to define what's actually something that we need to consider from that perspective is somewhat of a challenge. However, if we can start saying, all right, I can define this belief as to where it began, take belief A or belief C or belief Zeta or whichever one you like. But if you pick out a single belief and you say, okay, I know where this one began, then that reduces the number of beliefs that you have to discover its origin to, because not all of them are you going to know their origins to, because you didn't originate it. For instance, did you ever decide on what you see as green? Probably not, right? Because what you see as green is defined by society. It's not defined by you. There are cultures who think that blue is a green, or green is a blue, depending on which way it goes. I can't ever remember. I think the blue is a green, or green is a blue. So we see that division of color. That culture doesn't. Spanish speakers, for instance, they have a lot of difficulty seeing or hearing a B. To Spanish speakers, a B sounds exactly the same as a B. It sounds the same because B is the same in Spanish. There isn't a distinction between the two sounds necessarily. Not in Spanish. Okay. So it's difficult for somebody who spent their lifetime not hearing the difference, ever hear the difference. Not impossible, but it's difficult. So did Spanish speakers all decide just to blow off listening to the letter V? I don't think so. I think that it's a cultural event and a cultural belief that that it's not necessary or heard. It isn't something that one decides on oneself. So that's an example of a belief in real that we have no idea where it originated, nor will we ever. Maybe in Spain, those people speak really strangely over there. They say things like that, like they copy gay, but they're not. They're speaking Spanish. Okay, where did that begin? Oh, who knows? Who can tell? Why is it the people from Texas hablas español como así? Who knows? We don't know. It's a belief in real that we can't decipher. Anything else we got there? Huh?
Stay tuned. All human beings, all persons who reach adulthood in the world today are programmed biocomputers. No one of us can escape our own nature as programmable entities. Literally, each of us may be our programs, nothing more, nothing less.
Well, now that's a strange idea, isn't it? That we may be nothing more than our programs. I got to tell you something, guys. I happen to know a couple of things about programming because I've observed a little bit of it here and there, a few times. And one of the things that I've observed with people in programming is the following. When people are programmed or when they are programming, they think that they're deciding something. That's pretty rare, actually. And it's only within very few people with specialized educations, not special people. The education has to be specialized for them to be able to see it. Now, what generally happens is that when I say to somebody, you know, this is part of a program that you're doing, how do they respond, Elise?
Well, they don't like the idea.
That's not true. They say, no, I'm not. It's not a matter that they don't like it. They say, no, I'm not. Why is that? Because they can't see what they're looking with. I can't see the color of my eyes. I look with them. I can't see the programming that I use to look at the world or to interact with the world or to be pissy with the world. None of those things can I see. Because that's what I look with. Okay? All right, so it's not a matter that I'm good, bad, right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just a matter that that's what I do. That's the thing that we all do. We can't see our programming or anything else we look with. Just can't do it. Doesn't mean that we're dumb. Doesn't mean that we're not doing the right thing. It doesn't mean that we need to fix anything. It just means that we're blind to that. We need a mirror to be able to see it. What's a mirror look like? Looks like another human being. That's what a mirror looks like. Another human being saying, you know, you're doing this thing. Even though we'll answer them, no, I'm not. Yeah, you are. That's true, because we might be only our programs, nothing more, nothing less. No reason to be mad about that. No reason to be judgmental about that, for instance, Elise. There's not necessarily any reason to be judgmental about a program. Okay, there's no reason to beat yourself up about a program, Luca. If the program's there, then it is. You got to do something about it. You have to address it. Even though you can't see it, it's still there and it's still running your life. Okay? Because for me personally, the worst part of the worst program that I could possibly have is a program that ends in reactionary impulse or impulsive reaction. That would be, to me, that would be the worst kind of life that I could live, that I could only react impulsively. I'd want to know how to control that so that I'm not being run, that my life isn't being run by something so silly. That's what I would like, because I know that I'm my programming. See, I know that I may not be anything more than my programming. So I have to be aware of what that means to me. Okay? What else we got there?
Despite the great varieties of programs available, most of us have a limited set of programs. Some of these are built in. The structure of our nervous system reflects its origins in simpler forms of organisms from sessile protozoans, sponges, corals through sea worms, reptiles. Okay. The next, well, this goes on and on. As the size and complexity of the nervous system and its bodily carrier increased, new levels of programmability appeared, not tied to the intermediate survival and eventual reproduction. The built-in program survived as a basic underlying context for the new levels, excitable and inhabitable by the overlying control systems. Eventually, the cerebral cortex appeared as an expanding new high-level computer controlling the structurally lower levels of the nervous system, the lower built-in programs. For the first time, learning and its faster adaptation to a rapidly changing environment began to appear. Further, as this new cortex expanded over several millions of years, a critical size of the cortex was reached. At this new level of structure, a new compatibility emerged, learning to learn.
I think that's a capability, not a
Capability.
yeah, that would be what it would be. All right. So, look. There are built-in structures of survival, of procreation, and so forth. I mean, that's built in every organism, everything that has a brain, everything that has a DNA code. All of those things, all of that exists. It works for trees. It works for fish. It works for lizards. It works for reptiles and chickens and birds and all kinds of things. Okay, even humans, maybe even especially humans. And so people who sit around and worry about whether or not they're going to survive are kind of missing the point. If they don't survive, then the species dies. You think that we're programmed for the species to die? I'm sorry? Okay. So when you're running a business and you're saying, I don't know if this will work or not, what in the name of God is going on? Would you like to venture a guess with that? This is something you're wrestling with, yeah?
Well, I think that nothing is determinate. So
I don't think that's true. I think that survival is something that is programmed into us. And that's not determined, that's a fact. Now, if you're not surviving, what are you doing? Rolling over and pissing in the air and dying? Is that what you're doing? Is that your idea of business? To give up? To accept whatever comes your way?
no, you have to look at the programs.
Oh. That'd be a good thing to do then, right? That'd be a good thing to do, right?
It's the only thing you can do something different.
Okay, and why would you want to look at those programs?
Because I don't see them all.
Because you can see all of the ones that are affecting your business because you can see where your business is. And for you to say that you can't see those, the ones that are being shown to you through your business, probably is you being a little boy. That's not being.
The results show me problems.
Yeah, that's what it is. And so you have to address that. You have to say, ooh, that means you have to call intent and do something else, Luca. You have to call intent and say, okay, I don't want to do that. What I want to do is this over here. Okay, I'm going to not do that. I'm going to do this instead. This is going to be the not doing of this thing I don't want to do. You have to state that for you, not for me. I don't give a damn. If you fail, then you fail. It's easy. Click. You're a failure. Kid can't control himself. It's okay, not to worry. You're pretty close to there right now, right? Because you're having to stop and think about your relationships with girlfriends, right? You're having to stop and think about your relationship with your business. You're having to stop and think about your relationship with your word. You're having to stop and think about your relationship with agreement.
With the money too.
Well, the money is a flow of energy, and you think about it as being a thing, and it isn't. It's a flow of energy. And so consequently, you don't pay attention to how the energy is flowing. You say, oh, I'm going to earn the money. I'm going to make the money. No, you're not. The energy is going to flow because of what you're doing, or it isn't going to flow because of what you're doing. Either one works. Both of them are the same. One of them pays you, one of them doesn't. It takes exactly the same amount of programming to do either one. That's something that you're having to wrestle with. So, it doesn't make you a bad guy, dude. It makes you have to pay attention to something and grow up a little bit. That's it. We all go through that. Elise is still going through that, and she's older than you by a couple of years. I think she's 42 or 43, and you're what, 39 now? I'm pretty sure that's correct. Yeah, I think those. If not, you guys can compare notes later. Okay. Okay. Okay.
So the thing is that my logic says I can see where my problem.
Yes, and see, and there's the fatal error, is that you're looking at your logic.
Yeah, but
it's a fatal error. Period. I'm done.
I know. So I'm reacting. That's
yes, yes, you are.
I'm not seeing it at all.
Okay, so you're reacting. Aren't you grown enough not to react yet? Okay, so don't react. Do something else. It's okay. It's legal. Because the thing is that what we're trying to do with this big brain that you say that you have is to learn how to learn. And in order to do that, you have to understand what the belief is and what the meta program is, because the self meta programmer, the auto self meta programmer works only on the meta programs. Honest to God, that's a fact. Really, 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 Luca. And so you're trying to fix it with your logic. Lots of luck with that, dude. It won't ever happen. Okay, that's the reason why we try to keep you out of guilties. That's the reason why it's like with Elise. To keep Elise out of guilty, I have to damn near scream at her at times to keep her from spending days in guilty land. You're the same in this regard. You spend some time in being guilty and being a bad boy and doing this and doing that, and you're defensive as hell, especially when somebody like Elise or Sandy or even Maritza talk to you about it. You get defensive. It doesn't mean that you're a bad guy. It means that you've got a program that runs to say, I'm not doing that thing that I'm doing. We all have that program. You haven't mastered it yet. That's all. Fair enough? Okay, you haven't learned how to learn that part yet. You're working on it. You're going to get there. This is part of getting there. Fair enough? Okay, I'm not telling you you're a bad guy, by the way. I'm just pointing out this is an example of how programming works. Okay? Okay. You learn you're making model symbols, analyzing, making metaphors, and all those things. In other words, what you're doing is that when you learn how to learn, is that you learn how to do a language, you learn how to do the calculation, you learn how to take your memories and the things that you've learned and analyze those ideas. Okay, that's what you're learning that's what learning how to learn means. But it does not happen unless you can take a belief and apply it, a new belief, and apply it to a set of meta programs or a set of instructions. Okay, let me give you a practical example. Whenever a new game comes out on Google or on Word or in Apple or wherever it comes out, okay, new game comes out, somebody invents a new game. What happens there is that there is a language that is built for that game. It has to do, there are certain if-thens and so forth that if this happens, then that'll happen. If this happens, then that'll happen. If that happens, then this will happen, etc. Okay, that's what the game is. It's a whole series of those if-thens and what-ifs, okay? So, what's learning how to learn really? it's learning how to manage those if-thens. Okay, do you think it's going to be different in your iPhone than it's going to be in your head in terms of managing if-thens in terms of learning how to learn? Probably not. So you've got to start writing some if-thens. If somebody says, can you look at this thing here, then what do you do? Do you defend, or do you say, oh yeah, I'm doing that, and then look for where it is you're doing? Because they're seeing something, right? They're not picking on you. They're actually seeing. Well, if it's Elise, she's picking on you, so you got to listen. But she beats up everybody. Okay, that's just, she thinks that's cute. Okay, are you with over there, Elise? Okay, do you understand this one? Okay, language and its consequences appear when you start paying attention to learning how to learn. So if you want to know about programming in terms of a language, learn how to learn it. Then you'll know what the language means. Okay, ready?
To avoid the necessity of repeating learning to learn, symbols, metaphors, models each time, I symbolize the underlying ideas in these operations as metaprogramming. Metaprogramming appears at a critical cortical size. The cerebral computer must have a large enough number of interconnected circuits of sufficient quality for the operations of the metaprogramming to exist in that biocomputer.
Okay. What it's saying here is that, look, if we are being impulsively reactive to an idea, then the reason why we're being impulsively reacting to that idea, for instance, is because we have yet to learn how to learn over that idea. We can't learn how to learn that. We haven't learned how to speak about it. We haven't learned how to define it. We haven't learned how to look at it, perhaps. Okay? And so there has to be a critical mass of understanding for that learning to how to learn to take place, which means that in order for that understanding to take place is that we have to have experience and we have to have third-party substantiation. And we can't get either without talking to other people. Other people are the key to this concept here. They're mirrors. Okay? What else we got there?
As out of several hundreds of thousands of the substrate programs comes an adaptable, changing set of thousands of metaprograms. So out of the metaprograms as substrate comes something else, the controller, the steersman, the programmer in the biocomputer, the self-metaprogrammer. In a well-organized biocomputer, there's at least one such critical control metaprogram labeled I for acting on other metaprograms and labeled me when acted upon by other metaprograms. I say at least one advisedly. Most of us have several controllers, self-metaprograms, which divide control among them, either in time parallel or in time series and sequences of control. As I will give in detail later, one path for self-development is to centralize control of one's biocomputer in one self-metaprogrammer, making the others into conscious executives subordinate to the single administrator, the single super-conscient self-metaprogrammer. With appropriate methods, the centralizing of the control, the elementary unification operation, is a realizable state for many, if not all, biocomputers.
Okay. In the functions class, we examined the concept of being at one. This is what Lily's talking about here. He's saying, okay, look, we all have a whole ton of these metaprogramming entities, okay? I mean, think about it. You have a metaprogram that you use with family. You have a metaprogram that you use at school, or when you're driving, or when you're traveling, or when you're when you're being teach or whatever. I mean, you've got lots of different meta programs that you use, personalities actually. Okay, the idea is that you begin to whittle those down to one, because you only have one computer, you only have one brain, you only have one entity that's actually in charge. But what you're trying to do is trying to get down to a navigator that reduces the stress and strain on the computer and on your body, because you're not stressed about which entity has to be in control of which ideas and which thoughts and which things. Okay, it makes it way easier to have just a single entity in charge. Okay, that's the reason why we would call it the navigator, or the controller, or the self-meta programmer, which is probably the safest way to talk about it. Navigator is good, okay, and it carries all of the meaning. But self-meta programmer says, it gives also the added meaning of saying, okay, I can change the direction in which I'm going. So it's an easier concept to manage over the long term, even though navigator works pretty well in terms of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Get one navigator. I mean, it's like, you know, if you're sailing a ship, you don't want to have 2 or 3 navigators, because one might say, I want to go to Tahiti, and the other might say, I want to go to Hawaii, and the other might want to go to England. That might be hard to do all those at once. Okay, so what you're trying to do is you're trying to get a single navigator. Okay, go ahead.
The navigator is the self-meta programmer.
Yes, that's another way of thinking about the self-meta programmer, is that being the navigator, or the steersman is another way in English to talk about it, or the driver, or the chauffeur, if you'd like to say it that way. That's also another way of thinking about it. Okay.
But it's not just an observer. It can have.
No, it's not just an observer. It's managed. Yes, it is absolutely managed. Absolutely. Okay. Okay, what have we got here? External reality meta program. Okay, I don't want to do all these tonight. Okay. All right, look, you guys can read over this from this point forward. Okay, it's fairly simple to understand. It's simply a matter of different types of meta programs that they're going to put out here for you. Okay, I don't need to go over them all. You can read them and figure them out as easily as I can. They're relatively simple to understand. And we all do these things. What the point of this lesson is simply this. To begin with, there are at least 2 schools of thought about the origins of belief. Okay, where does it come from? From our experiences or from some unknown source? Both things probably are true, and so we're going to deal with both of them as though it's true. Okay, as if it's actually true. The other thing that is talking about here is this: is that, look, in that concept of where beliefs come from, has to be the concept of who actually does the believing. And what Lily says is it's that entity that we call I or me. But that's not always the case, okay? Because the thing is that many times I hear people talking about, I want this or I want that, and I stop and say, okay, which one of you wants it? People get kind of squirrely on me and say, yeah, but I don't want to talk to you anymore, because it's hard for them to say which one of their various steersmen is at the helm tonight. Okay, they just don't know. Okay, they've never been asked that. Doesn't mean that they're bad people, or that they've got multiple personalities, or they're going to turn into Sybil or anything, that kind of shit. No. It's something we all do. We all do it to one extent or another. The idea is that we have to work and fight to not do that anymore. We have to fight with ourselves. It's work. Finding out where those basic beliefs is not easy. That's what we said from the beginning in this class, is that it actually does require work. So that's okay if it requires work, isn't it? It's fine if it requires work. I'm not doing anything else. I have nothing else on my agenda other than to say, okay, you know what? I think I can solve this problem. I think I can figure out how to make it one computer or one entity running this whole damn thing. May take me a year or two, may take me 10 or 12 years, who knows? But I think I can figure this out. I think I can bring it all under one. Maybe I can do it this week. Maybe I can do it tonight over a beer or something. Who knows? But I think I can do it. See, that's the idea, right? Now, this is something you're wrestling with, is that you have several entities. One of them is really defensive when women talk to you, for instance, right? When women say things to you, you rah, 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 rah. I mean, you get kind of barky with them, like you're a big dog. Okay, it's not what you want to do. That's not what you're trying to do. It's that you don't even aware that you're doing it. You think you're being friendly. You think you're helping out, right? But it doesn't sound that way, and you can't hear it. And so when people tell you that, you say, well, why are you saying that to me? I don't do, I'm not doing that, right? That happens for everybody, everybody. We all do that. So we have to remember that that's something that's true for people when we're talking to them, especially when they're getting out of the tank, is that they probably can't see what they're thinking with, okay?
Those are groups of meta programs, those different me's.
They're actually different self-meta programs using that meta program set that we have in place, actually.
In different combinations.
Yes, with different paint, okay? Different flavors, okay? In other words, for instance, when a lady talks to you, you have the flavor, well, how dare you talk to me that way? That's the flavor, okay? When you're talking to your buds about music, it's like, hi, I'm Luca and I'm learning. When you're talking to a chick that you want to get in her pants, and it's like, hi, I'm Luca, and you know, you're really hot tonight, baby. I mean, you just go that we all of us have these different ones, okay, until we get it under one. But you have those are three that you use all the time. You have an arrogant one that's just disgusting. I mean, it's sick. It's just awful. But you have that, okay? That doesn't mean you're a bad guy. It means it's there. That's all. Okay. There's lots of people with it. Felipe has that. Gus has it. Nacho's got it all over him. God damn, it's like a glove on him. So that's just how things are. Okay, so the thing is that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get you guys to see it so you can decide whether you really want to do that thing or you want to do something differently, something else. You can do it that way if you want to, I don't care, but it doesn't work well because none of the ladies like it much. They all think that you're being an ass. And, you know, they have reason. I don't think that's what you want them to think about you, but that's what comes across, okay? Fair enough? Okay. All right. Are you with on this, kid? All right. I think that that's going to be enough for tonight on this because this is a bunch of stuff to consider, okay? And so next week, what we'll do is we'll start with the assumptions, okay? We'll do the first 17 assumptions, then we'll do the next up until what is there is 35 or 37 or whatever there are. We'll finish them up the next week, okay? Okay, so Thursday night we'll do those again. We'll do those in Spanish. Fair enough? Okay, thank you, everybody. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Carmen, nice to hear from you again, like always.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, I'll see you later, kid.
See you. Nice
Bye,
to see
Carmen.
you. Bye.
Bye, Jenny.
Hey, Jenny May, how you doing, kid?
I'm doing good.
I can't hear you. You got to speak them up.
Hi.
How are you? How you doing there, girl?
Good.
All right.
was a
Well,
nice class.
I'm sorry.
It was a nice class.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You've never been in any of these classes, have you, kid?
Never.
Mentirosa. What a liar you are. How many of these have you done, Jenny?
Oh, too many to count probably.
Yeah, me too.
But
Well,
good.
if you consider that you and I have been doing these for what, 7, 8 years now?
Whew, it's been a while. Been a while.
Yeah. Well, time flies when you're having fun.
I know, right?
Right.
How long has it been since I've been down there?
Oh, I don't know. It's been two, how about 2?
Too long.
Yeah. All right, I'm gone now. I'll talk to you later, guys.
All right.
Thanks.
See ya.
See you, Jen.
Elise, your hair got long.
I know, it's COVID length.
We're gonna take her and get her shaved.
Yeah. See yous, everybody.
Turn her into that O'Connor girl.
Yeah, right. Can we tattoo you then?
There.
So, another program.
All right. See